Hey, it's Mike Brennan, and we're doing another segment on MITechTV. And we have with us today Brian Wright, who's the Executive Director of MSU Technologies. Did I get that right, Brian?
Yes, you did.
All right, cool. And what we're going to be talking about is that MSU is going to be having a celebration on April 7th of their innovation program. And why don't you explain a little bit about what that program does?
Okay, so MSU Technology is a part of the MSU Innovation Center, and our core focus is to turn university research into real world impact. So we take the discoveries that come from the university labs, and we do assessments and market assessments, file for patent applications, and look for companies that want to bring things to market through license agreements, sometimes in the form of startup companies. So the Innovation Celebration, it's coming up Tuesday, April 7th. It's from 4 to 6:30 at the Henry Center on campus. And that is, as it says, it's a celebration. It's a recognition of some of the great work that some of the innovators at MSU have done. And so there's an exhibit space where uh, I think about 20 different innovators have a booth where you can come up and learn about their innovation and talk with them and learn more about what they've done. We
Hmm.
also have an awards session where we name the winners of various categories, including Innovation of the Year, Innovator of the Year. There's a Career Award. There's also an Industry Connection Award, and then a Startup Award and a Student Startup Award.
So, are you also bringing in some funders of those faculty-led startups, if there are any?
Some startups do come and they decide who to bring, and so
Yeah,
very often you may get to meet the management of a startup. I know a couple of years ago I met the CEO of one of our startups for the first time at one of these events.
sure. Back when I was at WWJ, I did something called the Great Lakes IT Report from 2001 to 2013, where I talked about it was a technology high tech newsletter from a Michigan perspective. And the favorite thing I did with the IT report was something called the tech tour, where I would go to universities all over the state and say, what are the two or three most interesting things that you have going, the most interesting research that you have going that has the potential for economic development, that has the potential for real world impact. And it sounds like this is exactly that kind of event.
Yes, this would have made your job a lot easier. You could
Yeah.
have just showed up and walked around for a couple hours and
Yeah,
learned a lot.
they'll all be in one room. That's right.
Yes, yes.
So you have a keynote speaker this year, who is a familiar name, Chad Munger. Why don't you talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, he's done some interesting projects here at Michigan State, um, including doing some work on reviving older varieties of grains, and
Hmm,
including some of those that were recovered from the bottom of one of the Great Lakes. I
geez.
don't think that project worked out, but there's been some really good interactions with him and Mammoth and Michigan State. And
Yeah,
that's what he'll be speaking to at the event is his experience working with the university.
yeah. He's founder and CEO of something called Mammoth Distilling, which is an interesting
Yes,
company.
yes, it is.
All
And
right.
we have a sister office here at the Innovation Center called MSU Business Connect, and so they're the ones that have had the most interaction with him. So they handle the agreements when an industry comes in and sponsors research at the university. They handle those agreements in terms of how is the money handled and who has access to intellectual property if some is developed during the course of the project, et cetera.
Why don't you talk about some of the exhibit highlights? I'm reading a long list here, but I'll let you do that. Talk about what really stands out, you think.
There's some interesting examples you'll see this year. It won't be operational because I believe it's run on diesel, but it'll be interesting to see the robotic apple harvester,
Hmm.
which is also one of the award winners. That's something that's quite interesting. I'd like to see in action one of these days. But labor shortages in agriculture has been a problem for years, not just the last 12 months. And so they're developing a robot that can go and actually detect apples and then uh, even in complex environments with branches and leaves and can go in with a suction cup and twist them off without bruising
Hmm.
them. And so that is geared up to be a startup company here in the near future as well. We have another inventor who's working on heart organoids, which are like human mini hearts that can be used for drug development, because hearts are often the limiting factor for side effects on a lot of drugs. So they may have a very promising anti-cancer drug, and then they put it into clinical trials, and they have bad heart side effects, and they have to pull it. Well, this is a way to do better testing before they even get to that point, and could really help save a lot of money in the drug development pipeline. And another professor is working on some alternative sourcing for various chemicals. Instead of using petroleum as the source material, they use lignin, which is a byproduct from the paper-making process. It comes from trees. And so that's very interesting. They make adhesives and different polymers using these natural polymers. And then one other display that has actually been there 2 years running, will now be there for a third year. It's also one of the awardees, is the SitSense recliner. You think a recliner, how can a recliner be high tech? One of the challenges they have in the medical field these days is that when people are infirmed and not very mobile, they sit in a chair or lay on a bed for a long time and develop bed sores, so to speak. And those can be very painful and very expensive to treat. But then avoiding them usually involves bringing someone in to manually move patients, which is labor intensive and also dangerous for the healthcare worker. So this SitSense recliner is designed to detect when someone has too much pressure in one area, and the recliner itself will shift the patient's position to avoid the development of pressure sores.
Oh, that's great. And this event's also part of a larger event in the Lansing area, right? It's called the 517 Entrepreneurship and Innovation Week. Why don't you tell us what you know about that?
Yes, that's developed over the last few years. Other events joined in the same week, and they're from the city gets involved, and the Research Foundation gets involved. LEAP is a big partner in this. They have several events. The business school, I believe, has events. The Burgess Student Entrepreneurship Center has events. And then a special event this year is My Pitch, which is the first year of a statewide business plan competition from startups. And they had 4 regional winners, and they're all coming in together, I think, on that same Tuesday to pitch. And the winner, I believe, receives $1 million in funding for their company.
Holy, wow.
Yeah.
That's significant, especially with a startup. They can pinch every nickel, as Mike well knows.
Yes, I can speak to that. So
Yeah. But
$1
yeah,
million bucks, that would solve a lot of our problems. I'm developing a software as a service company on the side, and we've been bootstrapping it. And software is very expensive to develop, so it's been a real challenge. So
yes. Yeah.
So that's the
it's a common challenge.
Yeah, LEAP is the Lansing Economic Area Partnership, which is the economic development agency, I believe, for the 3-county Lansing area, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay. And then there's the MSU Research Foundation, the Burgess Institute, which is the Student Entrepreneurship Institute, right?
Exactly right, yes.
Okay. And you're going to be attracting founders, startups, students, investors, creators, all sorts of folks. And this is April 6th through the 10th. And if you'd like more information on that, it says here that you should look at www.517ei.com. So where should people go for more information on the innovation celebration itself at MSU?
Well, you can go to innovationcenter.msu.edu/events.
Mm-hmm.
And it has more information there. Attendance is free, but registration is required. So we have some idea how many we may have.
Yeah, sure.
I think last I heard we had about 350 people registered.
Wow.
Yeah, could very likely get to 500.
Well, that would be over the space of several days, or that would be all at
just
once?
that one event.
That's just for our event on Tuesday, the Innovation Celebration.
Oh, that's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people. No, they've been doing it for about 20 years. It's a well-established event, and it's a very positive event. People like that for that reason, because we're showcasing positive things that are happening, and so people want to come and celebrate that, and also learn from it, and learn more about the processes and what resources are available, and maybe they can be one of those people one day.
Yeah. And it is at the Henry Center for Executive Development, which is on Forest Road, on the sort of southwest corner of MSU's campus, I guess you'd say, adjacent to the Forest Acres Golf Course and the start of the MSU farms that are down there, and also the new McLaren Center that's down there. And it's a very nice exhibit space. But with 500, if you're going to get 500 people, that's going to be a big crowd for that space. That'll
Yes, it
be
is.
interesting.
Yeah, this is our first year in that space, so it'll be interesting to see how it works out. But it's a nice space.
Yeah, very much so. Okay. Brian, is there anything you'd like to add at this point?
No, I think we covered everything. We'd love to have people. Anyone's listening, if this is something of interest to you, please register, and we'd love to have you next week.
Okay.